my phone go? Okay. So, hey, you guys, I wanted to talk to you guys about depression. The reason why I wanted to talk to you guys about this, oh, I know my mic technique is all over the place, is because I realized that someone that I know in Hawaii, they've really been letting themselves go. And I was kind of wondering how come they weren't very talkative towards me. I thought, oh, maybe we just had a natural parting of ways. You know, sometimes it's like you've had people in your life. It's not like you hate them, it's not like they hate you, but you just kind of go your own separate ways, right? I thought that was the case. I told them, I said, hey, I'm going to be in Hawaii for a little bit. Do you want to hang out? And they were just very curt with me. Now, I haven't seen them in a while, right? So I was able to find a picture of them just by accident. And I was so horrified. And I don't mean this in a very exaggerated manner, but I'm horrified because when I looked at a picture of them, it was very, very obvious and very clear to me that this individual had let themselves go. You could also tell that there was, like, even though they were around a lot of people, there was a lot of sadness in their eyes. And I thought to myself, like, holy crap, they must be going through something really bad. Now, I have known that this person has been struggling with mental health issues for quite some time. You know, I've known them for a number of years, but I've never ever seen them at the point where it looks like they just let themselves go. We're talking weight gain. We're talking that it looks like they haven't, it's clear signs that they haven't been taking care of themselves. And even though they had a smile on their face, I knew just by focusing on the eyes, you know, eyes can tell you a lot about a person, that they are not going through some good things. Now, there have been some things that have happened to them, and I've always, you know, kind of provided them guidance about what suggestions that they could do. From the outside in, everything looks great, but I don't know how bad it is inside of their head. And this is the time where I have to just, you know, I want to do the stream before I like reach out to them, because I don't want to be like, hey, I saw a picture of you at a party and you look like crap. I'm gonna be flat out over here, and what's going on? Because there has to be something that's really bad going on, in a sense, some sort of mental health issue, some sort of thing that they're not coping well. I don't know what it is. You know, I really don't know, but it's not a financial issue. I know that for a fact. But it just, it just alarms me. And this is what I'm trying to tell you guys as well. Sometimes people, if they're depressed, others will take it as, oh, this person is hurting my vibe. This person is a loser. This person is a waste of time. I only want to be with winners. I don't want to be with anybody who's depressed, because depressed people are losers. I hate people like that. I've had periods of my life where I've been heavily depressed. There have been things that happened in my life that really kind of messed me up psychologically for a period of time. And we're talking like years, right? But through that time, I got to see how people are. I got to reach out to people, and people, you know, I reached out to people, people reached out to me, and some of the people that I find that I care for the most, or the people that I feel like are like kind of like the ride or die, these are the people where they're not perfectly mentally healthy by society standards. They're not one of those people where they say, oh, how was your day today? My day was awesome. And how's tomorrow? My day's gonna be incredible. All I do is win. Like, that's, I really hate people like that, because I think it's just so fake. And I think that it really is damaging to people psychologically when they're around the people who will be like, oh, you're such a burden because you're depressed. Like, how can you be depressed? You should be happy all the time. Like, only happy people win at life. And I just, it just, like, it's very sad, because it's like I see people where they feel pressured to always be happy, and if they're not happy, it's like people don't want to hang out with them. And I kind of feel, and this is just my thinking here, I kind of think about that person that I was talking about. I kind of think that they don't have a lot of people in their life who are really going to give it to them straight and ask them straight up, like, what's going on? I know you're laughing. I know you're smiling. I know you're going out to parties, but there's something going on that is really like dragging you down. Like, what is it? And this is the beauty about, or this is like the silver lining of having depression, having a history of depression, because you are able to realize and see it in other people. And then you're able to also say, hey, I know you're not in a good place. Like, I know that there's something like really messing you up, but I want to tell you that life is just ticking by. And I don't want to come off as like ranty or preachy here, but like, for instance, for me personally, I feel like I lost 10 years of my life because of depression. And because of that, right, it's like I kind of think to myself some days, I think like, man, what could have been? And I don't want that for another person. I don't want a person, if they go through depression for 1 or 2 years, right, and if I start noticing like, hey, this is getting really bad, it's like I don't want to have any person just get stuck in their head for 10 years, because it's like it's a complete loss of life in that, like, quality of life. And I've known people, I don't talk to them anymore because I don't have their phone number. They kind of went into total hermit mode, where sometimes they've had this like speed bump in their life, right? Sometimes things didn't pan out, and then instead of fighting forward, they just gave up, and then they just became a recluse, and nobody knows what happened to them. They are in completely, like, just not in a good place. We're talking people who, it's like they don't want to talk to other people. Nobody reaches out to them, so it kind of funnels that cycle of depression, right? For instance, like, let's say this, you're depressed, you don't have that much friends, so then you're stuck, you're lost in your head, and then you realize, you're like, man, nobody's talking to me, nobody's reaching out to me, man, I must really be a loser, nobody must miss me. And then you start, let's say, for instance, eating, right? Or you start doing some destructive things, and then it just like, you remove yourself from people, and then people are like, man, I guess they're really a private person, maybe they don't want to talk to me. And then it's like time goes on, and then when people, if you spiral out of control, people see you and they're like, wow, this person really got into some really dark, bad stuff. And as a result, like, nobody wants to like hang out with these people, because again, it's inconvenient for a lot of people to deal with people who have depression. It's like, it's not the sign of, like, quote, a winner, right? Like, if, again, I've said this because it's like, I've known people in my life where it's like, if I have a mental health issue, and I'm not, of course, I'm much, much, much better than now than I was before. But if I'm going through some kind of thing, it's like I feel like I'm a huge inconvenience to them. Like, oh, you're sad, Erica? Oh, that sucks. Well, I'm doing really well. That kind of thing. It's just, it's like those people, I don't have them in my life. I don't miss them. I don't wish them ill. But I realize, like, it's not mentally healthy for me to be around people who just kind of act like that. It's like they just make it sound like depression is a terrible thing, and just ostracize a person because of depression, because that's not a cool thing to be depressed, right? Winners aren't depressed. And that's why one of the reasons is, like, I feel like sometimes you hear about people spiraling downwards, having substance issues. Sometimes people get into destructive habits. Sometimes people even do permanent solutions because they're just hurting so much mentally. And this is my thought about this kind of stuff, okay? If a person decides to do a permanent solution, sometimes people get really pissed off at them, right? They get really mad. They have, like, they get angry, and they're like, how could you do that? You're so selfish. My personal thought is this. A person who does a permanent solution, it's not like they hate people. It's not like they are selfish, but it's not like they want to end it all, but rather they feel like that's the only way to stop the pain. And when you think about things that way, right, it's just like, you don't feel angry at those people. You feel very sad, and you wish the best for them, in the afterlife kind of thing. It's like, you got 1,001 questions when someone does something like that. And I touched upon this, like, for instance, right, there's someone in my life, Jordan, and he passed away, and it really saddened me for the longest time. And I still think about it. I still get sad about it, because I feel like it was a loss of support system. But it just tells you, someone who has a brilliant mind, someone who is not a hurtful person, if they have a period of depression, it can change a person radically. And it's really, in my opinion, if like anybody considers themselves to be a friend to a person, you need to show that you are supportive, right? That you say, hey, I know you're going through something bad. Let's talk about it. Let's hang out. I know it might not be easy for you. I know you might be embarrassed because you have weight gain, or you feel like you're not on the whole rat race of employment. But that's okay. Each day is a new beginning. Each day is like a chance to be better. It's not like you don't. The last thing I feel like a person should do is just stay stuck in their head for 10 years feeling depressed, and it's like you wonder where your life happened for 10 years. This is like, again, I could talk to you guys about this from personal experience, and I cherish life a lot more because it's like as I get older, I see people in depressive states. I see people I see people stuck in a mindset, and people don't show that they care, right? It's almost like I said, people don't like to be inconvenienced by others who are depressed, and it's like sometimes people take it out on themselves, and it's very sad. And this is actually what I believe is happening to this individual. It's like when I saw it, I thought to myself, like, it's so it it saddens me a lot to see like video of them, to see them, taking a picture, and it's like although they have a big smile, you can see the eyes have so much hurt in them. I don't know what happened. I don't know what necessarily is going on. I know some things, but I don't know everything. Again, there are some people in my life, we talk best in person. It's not really texting, it's not really on the phone. And I'm sure you guys know people like that too, right? It's like, even if you don't see them very much, right? It's like, once you see them in person, it's almost like things are just how they were before, like the last time you saw them. Maybe it was like 3 years ago or so. So yeah, it's like those kind of people, right? I don't like when I don't talk to them, right? Because I don't see them, right? It's not like I think to myself like, oh, this person, they don't care about me, or they just hate people, that kind of thing, or I'm not cool enough. I just kind of think to myself, it's one of those people. You just talk to them in person, and then yeah, you figure out what's going on. And in the meantime, after, even if you have a great, heart to heart kind of thing, that they're not really going to talk to you on instant message or phone call or any text message afterwards, because they're not that kind of person. Some people, they don't like really divulging a lot of sensitive information on social media or online. And I completely understand that. Why do you refer to a specific person as them? Okay, well, just that individual, that person. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like sometimes, like, when people talk online, it's like if you're doing a text message thing, it's like one message, another message, another message. It's so much faster to just have a free flowing conversation. Like, hey, what's been going on? How have you been? Is anything on your mind, kind of thing? Or like, I sent something. Yeah. So I gotta, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Kai. Kai was asking about that euphemism. That's exactly what I was talking about. I didn't want to say it, but that's what I meant. I feel like, you guys know, right? I've been thinking about mortality because as I get older, more people pass away. Sometimes it's because of accidents, sometimes it's because of health issues, other times it's because of mental health things. And I don't want people in my life passing away, but the truth of the matter is everyone passes away. One day I will pass away. I hope I have a very, very long life, but until that time happens, right? I feel that I want people to just make the most of their life. Be around people who really care and support about them, and that kind of stuff. It's it saddens me to think sometimes like people become recluse, and then they just get lost in their head, and then they just get into this whole cycle about nobody cares about me. I guess I really am a loser because nobody's reaching out to me. Yeah, I've gained some weight. Yeah, nobody, when I go and talk to people are awkward towards me. So it's like I'm a waste of, like, all that stuff. Like, I've heard it from several individuals, multiple people. I feel like mental health is really an issue that is extremely serious. And sometimes it's like people just kind of dismiss it. I think that there are some people who are dealing with mental health issues, but they just don't want to be open about it for whatever reason. And if you aren't, if you don't want to share things with your friends, my take would be is that do you really consider them a friend? Because I think a true friend should be there, for you through thick and thin. And even if you don't see them often, right, do you feel confident that if you call them up and you said, hey, I'm going through something, do you think they're going to take the time out to talk to you? Like, that is a true friend. Not a person who's like, oh, hey, I just they only talk to you when it's convenient for them. It's like life is not all about heart, stars, and rainbows. That's what I realized, right? And it's like when you go through some hardships and when you go through some like rough patches of time, it's very important to kind of just realize like this is just a period of time. It's not permanent. It's not always it's not always it's not always going to be a bad thing. I feel like people, their habits as well kind of influences things. So for instance, right? Let's say I woke up, I didn't brush my teeth. I didn't brush my teeth, I feel crappy, right? And then I feel crappy, so then I don't eat breakfast, then I don't eat lunch, and then I eat dinner, and then my dinner, because I'm so hungry, I just say, frick it, I want to eat fast food. So, I eat fast food, I feel like crap because I wasted the whole day. And then I say, man, I'm so depressed, I don't want to take a shower. So the next day, I don't eat breakfast again, I don't eat lunch because I'm so depressed. And you guys get what I'm saying? Like, there are people out there that I know who have gone through these kind of cycles. I've known people who have had issues, substance issues because it's like alcoholism because they just want to like block out the pain. They feel so embarrassed that they got down to that kind of like thing, where they're gained weight or they don't take a shower, they don't brush their teeth, or they look like crap, they dress like crap, all that stuff, all that stuff compiles at them. And then when I consider to be just not so true friends, just leave them, right? And I'm talking about like really leaving them. I'm not just like, oh yeah, they're just busy. It's like you can kind of tell like people don't want to hang out with them anymore. It's just like that doesn't make the situation any better. So I really do believe it's better to have less friends in your life than have a whole crowd of people. I have a small friend circle for a reason. I feel like a lot of my friend circle, like, it's been through like thick and thin kind of thing. The people in my life, they've gone through some really tough stuff. And even though they went through some really bad times, it's like it's always been very open communication between me and them. So even if we don't talk for a couple years, it's like, hey, let's talk, let's catch up, and everything's all fine and dandy. And if we don't talk again for another few years, it's totally fine. So yeah, don't if you guys are depressed and you feel like you're sad because you only have, let's say, like one friend, or you only got your neighbor that you talk to, that kind of stuff, like don't feel bad about it, because it is better to have one true friend than it is to have people who don't care about you. The other thing I want to talk to you about depression is, even though it hurts when people say certain things, like if people make a certain comment, recognize what is constructive and what is just tearing a person down. So for instance, right, I don't tolerate people who make fun of people who are depressed. People who it's like you can tell that they're clearly hurting, and then another person will use that opportunity to try to be like, oh, I'm much better than that person because I'm not a loser, I'm not depressed, I'm not fat. I think it is so ugly when people are like that. I've known a couple people like that. I've known a couple people where they just pride themselves on not being a quote depressed loser, but then they kind of, the way that they talk to people, it's so vile, it's so toxic, it's so like, it's so it comes off as very elitist, that it's like I look at these people and I think, man, okay, so it's hard for them to make friends. I wonder why. I wonder why. It's hard for a person to want to befriend a jackass when it comes down to it, right? It's like if you feel like there is a person who's just making fun or just like belittling a person because of mental health issues, you kind of look at that, and if you have like a couple brain cells, you'll kind of think to yourself like, do I really want to befriend a person who talks about others that way, because like, what if I become depressed, right? What is that person going to say about me if I become depressed, if I have, let's say, a loss in the family, or if my, I don't know, my little chihuahua dog dies or something like that, right? It's almost like, yeah, so you learn a lot about people based on the things that they say as well as their actions. And I feel like sometimes when you look at a person, right, when you talk about a person, you don't just focus on one instance. You have to look at the whole totality of things. And I like to scrutinize my friends like that. I don't mean scrutinize in a really harsh way, but I like to look at people in my life in that way. And I just say, hey, if they're going through issues, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly normal to go through ups and downs, but are they a hateful person? Are they a supporter person? And if they're better, do they use their experience to tear other people down, or do they try to uplift people? And I try to do the latter kind of thing. Yeah. Like, I mean, like, I think feeling sad, like, for instance, right? If I don't know, like, if my car breaks down, if I'm pissed off or I'm angry, that's totally fine. But if I'm thinking to myself, man, my car broke down, I'm such a loser, man, like, my life sucks, that kind of stuff. Yeah, not only did my car broke down, so I didn't get to do what I wanted to do today. Oh my gosh, my life, like, that kind of stuff. It's just like over emotionalizing. I think sometimes it's like when I go through life, there are things that I just kind of, I don't really emotionalize very much. I'm like, yeah, okay, I lost something. Okay, yeah, this thing broke. Oh well, whatever. Life goes on. When I die, I can't bring the item with me anyway. Like, if a car breaks down and I'm stranded, I'd be like, frick, this sucks. This is going to be extra work. But if I kick the bucket tomorrow, they're not going to bury me with my car, right? Like that's not going to happen. The car's going to have to be given away or totaled or whatever. So I look at those kind of items in that kind of light. So I've shared with you guys that before. Sometimes, like, people, they get so depressed because they say, oh, I don't have this kind of stuff, or I don't have, like, my peers are so much better than me. And it's like, it's easy, it's easy to say, yeah, let's say, for instance, right, let's say if you went to a high school and you're like, man, I went to a high school and I'm such a loser, and then one of my classmates became a famous Hollywood actor, that kind of thing, right? Like, of course you would feel crappy, because you would be like comparing yourself to someone who's like on a different level. But the truth of the matter is like, everybody goes through their own paths in life. Like, some people become super famous and other people not so much. But I don't think that the famous person has more value in society than a non-famous person, because I've known some people where they just have very menial jobs, but they're incredible people. They're outstanding people in the community, but nobody knows who they are at all. But they were very loved by their friends and their family and the community and all that kind of stuff. It's like the it's kind of like Batman, like the hero that works in the darkness kind of thing. Like, you don't see them, but they do some amazing things. So yeah, it's easy for a person who, let's say, isn't famous to kind of think to themselves like they don't have any worth because nobody knows who they are. How come they're not? How come they don't have a following or anything like that? But don't focus on the numbers, right? It's like, not everybody is gonna be a famous Hollywood actor. Not everyone's gonna be a famous singer or a painter or cook or whatnot. And that's perfectly fine. It's just like, focus on what you want to do and try to be the best at that, whatever that is, right? Even if it's something simple like, oh, I really like stamp collecting, so I'm going to try to have a nice stamp collection. I'm going to work towards, finding all these stamps. You guys get what I'm talking about? Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I feel like, Avid brings up a good point, right? We live in an individualistic culture where, to be honest, most people exploit your vulnerabilities. There are things about me that when people find out, people just kind of like, they're like, oh my goodness, she must be like a mess. Like, for instance, right? I've shared with you guys, like, I've known people in my life who have, it's like, they're gone, and it's like I still think about them. And sometimes people would say, oh, that's really unhealthy, Erica, but I kind of think of it this way, like I really miss these people. So it's like, even if you guys see me on camera and I'm like crying about, like something that reminds me of my mom, it's not like I spend all day thinking about my mom. Like, I think about my mom, but it's not like I'm just like wallowing in depression. Sometimes it's like when people find out about things like, oh, her mom passed away when she was 19, people think like, oh man, that sucks. Like, that really, man, she must have been really messed up psychologically. That kind of stuff. And there are people who do believe that. There are people who just, it's like they want to be around people who have like both parents. It's because they feel like, oh, if you have both parents, then you're normal. And it was like a cloud on me for a while. It's just like sharing that kind of stuff, and then we're like, oh man, that kind of sucks. It's like, yeah, well, everyone's gonna die, right? Everyone's parents are gonna die, grandparents gonna die, uncles, aunts, brothers, sister, that kind of, everybody dies. It's a total normal thing. But yeah, sometimes if you like share certain things about people, people kind of make this kind of assumption that, let's say if you got into a car crash, right, then they must say like, oh man, that person must be like a bad driver, or that person must be, if that person doesn't want to drive, then they're probably mentally messed up. Like, I got into a car accident. I think I shared that with you guys. Back when I was like 23 years old, I had a driving instructor. They had the emergency brake. Some guy ran the red, T-boned the car, and for half a second, I really sincerely thought I was going to pass away. That's one of the reasons why you don't see me comfortable driving, because I think to myself, I don't know how the other driver is. And people could say I'm living in fear, but if you've ever been T-boned, it's like you see, at that split second, you kind of wonder, like, is everything going to be all right? It just like jolts you up. And yeah, but I got my driver's license. I'm not the best driver. I can drive, but it's just like those kind of experiences, right? It really shapes you. And that's how, like, when you go through life, right? Even if you go through a tough time, even if you go through a traumatic time, like, those experiences shape you, but you shouldn't let it break you. That's what I'm trying to get at. And if you guys are struggling with mental health issues, or if you feel embarrassed because, let's say, you gained weight or you haven't been taking care of yourself, right? It's like, you got to think about it this way. How long have you spent being stuck in that cycle, and do you really want to get out of it? Sometimes I find it's easier for people to just wallow in depression than it is for them to have faith in themselves. Like, for instance, right? Let's say if you never took a shower for 3 days, it's easier for you to say, man, I'm not going to take a shower today, rather than say, I will take a shower right now. And I've known several people where if they get really depressed, they don't take a shower for quite some time. It's one of those classic signs of depression. I feel like it's a mixture of feeling depressed / self-loathing / getting stuck in bad habits. And that's why I think it's so important for people to take a shower, so important for people to eat well and brush their teeth, comb their hair, that kind of stuff. All those little investments in a self is extremely, extremely important, because bad habits form very easily, in my opinion. And so I'm gonna, I gotta brainstorm and for a little bit and see how I want to reach out to this person, because I don't want to be like, hey, I saw you and you look like crap too much. Like, I can have a very straightforward conversation with this person, but I feel like I've known them for such a long time. I don't want to say something that's like super hurtful. So I got to work on my wording over here. And I really suggest to you guys, if you see someone like that, if you can kind of tell that they're not in a great mental state, like, don't just run your mouth first, right? Don't open your mouth before you think. Just try to be like, hey, I think most likely what I'm going to say is, hey, do you want to grab lunch? Do you want to grab dinner? And then from there, I'll just transition and say, like, what's going on, Like, wow, like, how have you been? That kind of stuff. Yeah. Some people, like, you got to be careful, right? You got to be careful, because it's like sometimes, like, people will, if they find out you're depressed, they're going to use that against you. and they will get happiness from knowing that you're depressed. Oh, that person who was, who used to be really good at so and so, this person who was like really good looking, now they're not good looking anymore. That's great. I'm happy that that person gave away. It's just like such like vindictive kind of petty toxic stuff. I hate that. Even for people, it's like I've known several people in my life. They're like so much better than me. But I don't wish them well. Sometimes I'll think about it. I'm like, man, I wish I was like successful like them, or like, oh, I wish I didn't waste 10 years of my life being stuck in my head. But like, if they are going through some tough things, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm happy that, yeah, now this is the opportunity that I can try to catch up with them. Yeah, I was always so jealous of them, so yeah, I'm happy that they're going through depression. I'm happy that they gained 50 pounds, because yeah, but there are people like this. I know there are people like this, and I've seen glimpses of people like this when I was down, and it's really something where you think you can trust a person, and then if you go through like a rough period of time, and you just, it's not like it's gonna debilitate you. It's just like you just need some space kind of thing. You just need to, you're just going through a rough patch, and it's like sometimes you got people, it's like they come out like freaking vultures just to try to attack you, and it's very hurtful. I've had situations where I was crying in front of a person, and then a person just seemed like they were getting off, just trying to like rip into me kind of thing. And it's like you realize like these people, like some people, it's like they just love seeing others suffer. It's not like, it's like if you see a person crying in front of you, you shouldn't be like, okay, let me go for the jugular, right? You should say, okay, you know what, I am, you're hurting right now. Let's try to think of a game plan so you can be better. Like, okay, yeah, you haven't been doing this, or like, yeah, you gained 25 pounds. I know you're embarrassed about it. So yeah, tomorrow let's, I like try and get some exercise, or try to eat healthier, that kind of stuff. Like it's kind of like hand holding over here. But it is so much better than someone saying, my goodness, I can't believe you gained 25 pounds. You look like such a fat, that kind of thing. It's funny because it's like, I thought you had so much potential, and now I realize you're just a loser. Like, you realize, like, sometimes people, they will word things very similar like that. And it might not all come at one time, but, like, that's the gauge that you get. And then you feel like they're smirking at you, and they're just happy that you're down. It's like, it's so toxic, you guys. It's so toxic. So you got to really watch out for these people, because they are people who get off on the pain of others. It's people don't talk about this stuff, but if you guys are going through a really rough spot, and someone's talking to you in a way that you kind of feel like they're getting happiness and glee from, feeling that they're superior to you, remember when you feel better. Remember what they said. Remember how that made you feel. And then my suggestion would be, don't really talk to them. Because you don't want to go through a life where you go through another crappy situation, and then the person's just like, they feel like they're getting off on you being in pain. Like, I don't feel like I was put on this planet just to make someone feel happy that I'm sad. So, it, like I said, watch who you associate with, watch the people that you keep near you, and always try to find the supportive people. Find the people who will be there with you thick and thin. Not the people who it's like, once you fall, they'll just see it as an opportunity to tell you, how terrible you are, how much of a loser you are. And it's like, it just makes the situation worse. I feel like sometimes those people, they do those things because as much as they want to think that they're a winner in life, they're not. And I think that this is their period of time where they feel that they can just, like if they feel like a loser and they see someone else who's worse than them, they're like, haha, I might feel like a loser, but at least I'm not a loser like so-and-so, right? So it's kind of like displaced energy. I don't get happiness from people when they suffer. I don't. I want to see people happy, and I want to see people living a fulfilling life. I want to see people successful. If someone becomes more successful than me, and there are several people in my life where they were in a terrible, terrible shape before, and they worked on themselves, they spread their wings, and now they're in like so much better place. Like it's like absolutely incredible how much their life changed around. I'm really happy for them. I think that they become a testament to people with mental health issues, and then they could say, hey, I used to be depressed. Hey, I used to feel like a loser. But then I took the brave step of moving forward, step by step by step. And now I'm, quote, a winner, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm really proud and happy of those people. And imagine if they had been around people where, they were just getting kicked down. Their life would probably not be where it is now. And they've these people, they have really good support system. They have really patient people around them. They don't have people where it's like people go for the jugular. People tell them that they're a loser kind of thing. It's very important to keep that kind of thing in mind. Remember, there are good people on this earth and there are bad people. There are supportive and unsupportive people. Please do not assume all people are good. Please do not assume all people who you consider your friends are really supportive. And there is a difference between positive supportive and negative supportive. I mean, like, if you're going through a rough time and someone's kind of like saying, hey, take it easy, work on yourself, like, I notice you're hurting, that's a good person, right? Versus a person who's like, I don't want to hang out with you anymore, you make me look bad, you're ruining my vibe, that kind of stuff. Like, those people are just pricks. And I've met a few of those people, and it's just like, I kind of look at those people, and then it comes out later on that they feel lonely or they're sad, and some people, they're just like, I hate everybody else, they don't realize how awesome I am. It's like, well, did you ever think that maybe because you're so toxic to other people that when people become stronger, they don't want to hang out with you anymore? There are a few people like that in the world. I think I shared with you guys, there was this one person in Hawaii that felt like he was a god. And he used to talk a lot of crap about people in Hawaii because he was not from Hawaii. He was from the mainland, right? Continental United States. When it came to Hawaii, people were not kissing his ass. And I got to know him, and I thought maybe he was misjudged. Maybe the reason why people aren't hanging out with him is because he puts up a front. But what I realized is that the guy was a total jackass. And when I mentioned his name, some people would bring up, they'd be like, oh, I know that person. I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, he's a total joke, Erica. And I'm like, oh, how did you meet this person? And then they would tell me some situations that they encountered with them, and I'd say, like, I can't believe you actually know this person. Like, I never thought they would be in your circle. And then it's just, because Hawaii is such a small little island, right? It's like someone knows a person who knows a person, or if you go to a party, chances are you'll see other people there, and then all that stuff. So it's like, yeah, so that person, as far as I know, I don't know how their life is now, but they weren't in a good place. I consider them to be super fake. This person is like one of those people where they want to get to know you if you're somebody, and if you're a nobody, they don't want to know you. Like, they're just like, you're a waste of my time. Why should I talk to a person who is not better than me? Why should I talk to a person who's not famous? Because if I want to be famous, then I gotta rub shoulders with the famous people. Those kind of things. So, what do you call that? You call it, I don't want to call them a groupie, but it's like one of those people, it's like they just follow fame. It's like they look down upon the commoners, the peasants, and then they only smile and to people that they feel that is in a better social position than them. And I don't want people like that in my life. Yeah, so Sad Dane says, having almost no real friends at this point, I can say it's better than befriending toxic people or people that use you for their gain. And 100% Sad Gain. Preach, preach, preach. Yeah, like I said, one of the misconceptions that I had when I was younger is that I thought if you don't have very many friends, there's something wrong with you. But I really believe that it's hard for people to find people who genuinely care about them, genuinely take an interest in them, genuinely look out for their best interests, versus the people who are just like, oh, I just want to talk to you because, like, you're someone that I can use to move forward kind of thing. Kind of like a, well, what is it? It's kind of like one of those like networking things. You know, those networking people? Oh, I hate those networking things so much. I hate networking. I really hate networking. I feel like it's so fake. And then I found out recently that someone that I know, they also shared how much they hate networking. I'm like, what do? You just be all like, hi, I'm so-and-so. Here's my business card. Yeah, let's keep in touch. It's like, what do you keep in touch with that? Like what do? You're gonna be like, okay, thanks, Susan. Thank you for your business card. Here's your name. Here's your title. I guess I'm supposed to email you? What the hell am I supposed to email you? Oh, that's a good one. Check your energy level after conversation. If you feel like crap after speaking, you might not be compatible. They might not be an asshole. Oh, that's true. Yeah, so it's better to have less people in your life and people who uplift you than like 50 people who are just energy vultures kind of thing. Okay, so I gotta get going with my day, but it was really nice, I guess, having this discussion with you guys. And I hope that if any of you guys are dealing with depression, if you're going through a funk, like, break the cycle. Okay, you haven't been brushing your teeth, you haven't been eating, you haven't been taking a shower. Take that shower. Okay, you're not doing yourself any favor by not taking that shower or eating or brushing your teeth or combing your hair. And anything that you've accumulated through your depression, whether it be weight gain or you know, bad grooming habits, it's going to take some time to reverse that kind of stuff. So, for instance, right, let's say I did not cut my hair for 1 year because I was depressed and I had some huge split ends. Okay, so I might have to go and get my hair cut for sure, and then I might have to condition my hair. You guys know what I'm talking about, like that kind of stuff. Like whatever you let go and you don't maintain, don't be surprised if you feel like you have to like catch up with your maintenance routine because you just neglected yourself for so long. The most important person in that exists in your life, in my opinion, is you, because you cannot do anything if you don't take care of yourself first. Like, I'm not saying you got to pamper yourself or you got to be living in the lap of luxury, but what I'm saying is that you owe it to yourself to be mentally healthy, because life will just go by, right? And if you spend 10 years in being depressed and, you know, being trapped in a cycle, you will realize that that is like 10 years of your life you cannot get back. That's like, what, 1/8 of my life. And, you know, I'm in a much better place now than I was before. I recognize a lot of my negative habits that I had. I've seen it in other people too. And that's why I can be very open and honest about this. This kind of stuff that I'm talking about, I know people, sometimes they don't like hearing this stuff. Because I know some people will say, oh, Erica was depressed for 10 years. What a loser. Look, I don't care, because at the end of the day, having this kind of discussion, I feel, is so much more important than me talking about some stupid product review. It's so much more important than me just saying, oh, hey, you guys, let's look at my clothing haul that I bought, or let me talk about a handbag, that kind of stuff. So when I made this YouTube, right, I kind of felt to myself like, I don't want to have it just be like one-dimensional kind of thing. I don't want to just talk about flowers or handbags and that kind of thing. That's why my channel's all random and all over the place. But you guys, you know, you guys have a good day, and please take care of yourself, and please reach out to people if they are depressed. Okay, you have to think about it this way: if you go through a period of time, a rough period of time, would you want someone reaching out to you? And if the answer is yes, then you should do that, because you never know if that person just really needs someone to reach out to them, and they just really need to just like let things off their chest or something like that. And maybe, you know, maybe you could be part of the catalyst that can help them get their life back on track. Not guaranteed, but at least, you know, you feel like you did your part, or at least you feel like, hey, I'm trying to make the world a better place, one person at a time. I don't want to see anybody hurting. I don't want to see anybody sad. Okay, you guys, see ya.